Well, here is part 5 of the Rowe Imperial vending machine. Got the mechanism back on the rack, and I've got the front plate back on. Also went ahead and reassembled the penny slot vendor for the matches, just to make sure everything was in the proper configuration for vending. I still have this free play scenario with the machine, so it will take a quarter, but then it continues to be free. So I wanted to incorporate the penny match vendor, even though I believe it's its own separate component. When I took it apart, it had nothing to do with the actual locking bar. It's its own assembly all by itself. I did discover when I took it off the rack that I had removed this flange or flag right here that drops the matches when you put a penny in. But actually, after examining the rack a little bit closer, it's actually easier to take the actual column out of that for the matches. Take the whole column out, and then you can take the vending rack assembly out all in one piece with the flag attached to the back. The reason that I realized that you can do that is because there's no way to fasten. There's a screw down there, and there's no way you can get behind there to fasten it down, so you know that it has to be put on as a full assembly fastened on the vending rack. I did not notice that when I took it apart, and so I did a lot of labor in these assembly here. There was 2 teeth in here, and there was a bar, and there was 2 springs, and you had to line everything up and put it back together. So it was really time consuming to take all that apart to remove the assembly. So you do not need to take this penny assembly apart to access this flag here. I just didn't notice it until I started putting it back together. So anyways, we've got the assembly back on the rack. I noticed the other machine had these pieces right here. Mine were missing on this piece here, on this assembly here. I have no idea what these pieces do here, but there was 2 of them. There was one here, and there was one here. So they're between bar or serving 1 and 2 and the last bar, the 6th bar. I took the springs off the other machine. These 2 springs were missing on my assembly. I have 2 machines, and I just had to put a small bend a small loop in the spring to get these to fasten, and then I actually had to remachine, rethread tap this screw here. And it's interesting because the screw isn't very long. It's almost like it could be longer, and it could go down. There's nothing below it, and it seems like it's really easy for that screw to get loose. So I'm probably gonna find, it's a 6/32, so I'm probably just gonna find a little bit longer screw to put in that to keep this piece fastened down. So I don't have the cotter pin put back on the return arm, but I noticed that when you vend, it pushes this piece back and forth, but it only moves these 2 components here, which I would believe would have been for dimes and nickels. And so I don't think that the way that my machine is configured, that these 2 pieces have anything to do with my vending cycle, because my quarter drops and goes right here. So I don't have any components or any currency that's going, any money that's going into either one of these slots. And like I had mentioned in some previous videos, I believe that these are feeler bars. So then when you put a dime and a nickel in the machine, it would help guide the two trying to look for a dime. So I believe it would have been like this. You'd have had a nickel, and then you would have had a dime on the other side of that. And so when you drop the money in when it was 15 cents, it would kind of help guide these coins into their proper slots. Again, I don't have anything going on at all in this assembly when it has to do with these two brackets on the machine. My quarter drops right here. So I think I did a lot of work for really, I don't think I can do anything to make, to change any of that. I don't think these springs have anything to do with the 25 cents. So I'm going to go ahead and put the coin mechanism back on the rack. We now have the large spring attached to the return bar. So when you pull the rod, this allows the bar to return back to the normal position. So you'll see that when you have that out, we talked about that slide there. So when I shut this, now that I have a platform to put this on, you'll see that this will go and rest just like that. It's really hard to do one-handed, but I got it. So as I've taken this little thumb screw right here, as I've taken this machine off and off the rack, learned quite a bit about how it operates. So get that thumb screw tight. This is the penny slot here. So it's, in order to just move this out of the way, all I had to do was loosen this nut right here, and this slot moved all the way up to the top, so you could remove this piece here. So I'll show you a penny working, and you'll see how that works. It's very simple on how the penny part works. I wish it was that simple for the serving. So if I drop a penny in, it drops in there, and then the penny's gonna drop there, and then your matches would drop down here. So your matches would sit on top of that, and then when you pull that rod, it would drop the matches, and then it returns. There's a spring behind there, and then the penny would just it dropped here, and I don't know if there was a penny box or not. I don't know. So neither machine had a penny box. So the penny slot's working. We've now got the mechanism, back on the rack, and we've shown a couple times now. I'm gonna move this over a little bit, and so this quarter should drop down to the bottom of the mech. It's right there on the right side. So, and then if I were to put some product down, that should allow it to pull. And so I'm gonna grab a piece of tape real quick. And my videos are always really raw. I'm not gonna have anybody out here to show me how to or push anything or pull anything like that. I just do my stuff just like this, and then we should be able to. And the only reason that that's getting stuck is because I'm doing it one-handed. So, and then the quarter would have gone down into the box. So again, the quarter goes down the rejector, down to the bottom as we had discussed. And then we've got this one down. We have to have the little tooth down or it stays locked in the back of the frame of the mechanism. And then now it's vending. The only problem is that we continue to get, there's a couple times where if it springs back hard enough, I think it's locking the mech up, but it's intermittent. So sometimes when I spring it back, it locks it up. Sometimes it's free vent still. So I think it has to do with the amount of tension on this delivery rod return. And I think what it is when the cotter pin's in there, it'll be a lot tighter, and that will allow the mechanism to require a coin each time. So I think the return tension resets something below the mechanism, and I haven't taken it apart yet, but right now it's still free. So I'm not able to always duplicate the problem. So if I remove the mechanism from the rack, so I'm actually not disappointed right now. I mean, the mechanism wasn't working. It wasn't taking a quarter. Everything was locked up. Couldn't get anything to vend. So I'm not disappointed that it's not resetting right now. The only thing that moves back and forth when a coin is accepted is this little flange here, and that's so that it allows the quarter to stay in this position until it vends. I can't think of any other components that are below this that would have an effect on how the mech resets. So if I have the quarter in there now, I'll put my knee up here so I can get some more pressure. That moves. It's just really hard to do one-handed, but anyways, that's part 5 of the Rowe Imperial. So we went ahead and put the vending assembly back on the rack, which is a pain because you're having to commit to putting everything back on and seeing if it's going to change anything, which took about an hour. We had to reset the linkage arm. I tried to use these springs from the other machine to see if that would help reset it, so it requires a quarter each time. That didn't change anything. It is vending on a quarter, however it's free play, so I want to try to resolve that. We were able to get the penny vendor back assembled back on the machine, and discovered that when I took it off that I didn't need to remove all that stuff there, which that's just part of the learning process. And then we're able to see if we can get it to reset on each vend. So not totally disappointed, but I'd like to figure out why I can't get the machine to lock up after each vend. So right now, as I've said it a couple times, we have like a free vend scenario. So it's not requiring a quarter. The rejector takes the quarter, it goes down the quarter slot, and the quarter drops into the box. So we know that the machine is taking quarters. However, the next vend would be free, unless you knew otherwise, if there was product that was resting on top of one of these selections. So just if I don't have anything on that tooth, it's not going to vend because we have that little claw that's in the down position, which keeps the delivery bar from moving. So I was thinking the whole time that it had to do with either these two fingers here, me missing the springs and the washer from the other mechanism, and then I thought that if I hooked this bar back up to the linkage rod, that would help lock things up after each vend, but it didn't do that. So The only other consideration I have is to start taking all this stuff apart down below here to see if there's something that's not resetting. All the locking bars are moving freely. It's just, I don't know, it's frustrating. There's no manual, doesn't tell you how to get it to vend and how it's reset, so you have to keep working through it. So that's part 5. All right, thanks.